Why most U.S. mid-tier colleges seem to outperform top Philippine universities every year. Thousands of Filipino students ask the same question. Why do many U.S. universities, not Ivy League, not elite, not world famous, still seem to offer stronger outcomes, better research ecosystems, and clearer pathways to careers than even the top universities in the Philippines? It's a question people rarely talk about honestly because education is emotional. Universities represent national pride, family sacrifice, and hopes for a better life. But when we look beyond opinions into hard data, global rankings, employer demand, funding structures, and the voices of students, the picture becomes clearer. According to Philstar reporting on THE's 2025 Asia University Rankings, no Philippine university made the top 500 in Asia, with Ateneo and UP landing in the 501 to 600 bracket. Meanwhile, regional public and private universities in the U.S., schools outside the top 100 maintain stronger research budgets, graduate employment tracking, and international partnerships. Why does this gap exist? And more importantly, what can we learn from it? This is Elite Narrative, the channel where we bring global documentaries grounded in evidence. Before we dive in, like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments because this is not just a video, it's a conversation. Today, we explore the comparison between U.S. mid-tier universities defined as regional public and private institutions ranked outside the national top 100 but consistently strong in their regions, and the top Philippine universities featured in QS and the rankings. This is not an attack. This is not a claim that Philippine universities are bad. This is not a claim that U.S. universities are perfect. Instead, this is a data-driven, respectful analysis of global ranking metrics, research infrastructure, funding stability, graduate outcomes, employer alignment, international partnerships, academic mobility, economic pressures on HEs, and student migration patterns using only verified data from sources such as Philstar, CHED, PIDS, Business Mirror, GMA News, and reputable educational research. Let's begin by establishing what mid-tier U.S. colleges actually are. By mid-tier U.S. universities, we mean regional public and private institutions outside the U.S. News Top 100. These schools are fully accredited, have strong research centers and facilities, access to federal funding and grants, transparent graduation data, and established career pipelines. Some may occasionally appear in national subject rankings, but overall they operate outside the elite top tier. Let's establish something clearly and respectfully. The Philippines does have strong universities, but on global research-intensive metrics, the country struggles. On Philstar reporting on the 2025 The Asia Rankings gives no Philippine university made the top 500. Ateneo de Manila University and the University of the Philippines both placed in the 501 to 600 band. On CHED and Business Mirror reporting on the 2025 QS Asia Rankings gives 25 Philippine universities appeared, but most ranked beyond the 300 mark. This does not mean the education is low quality. It means that the metrics prioritized globally, like research output, citations, international faculty, and industry income, are areas where Philippine institutions have fewer resources. Meanwhile, many U.S. mid-tier universities appear in global subject rankings, score higher in citation impact, receive significant federal grants, host active research labs, attract international collaborations, publish in globally indexed journals. This does not mean they are better at everything. It simply shows that research-oriented metrics, which global rankings heavily reward, are an area where mid-tier U.S. institutions tend to perform stronger. Financial sustainability. The hidden gap. A major factor behind this difference is funding stability. According to a 2024 PIDS discussion paper, DP 2024-24 on higher education financial sustainability, many Philippine HEs rely heavily on tuition. Few have diversified revenue streams. External research funding is limited. Facilities require long-term modernization. Financial risks are rising due to demographic shifts. Contrast this with U.S. mid-tier universities. Receive federal grants, attract private donors, have large alumni foundations, partner with industry for funded research, receive state subsidies, operate endowment funds. This allows them to sustain modern laboratories, competitive faculty salaries, research assistantships, co-op and internship programs, extensive student support services. Philippine HEs, by comparison, operate under tighter financial constraints, limiting faculty research time, lab upgrades, global collaborations, funded graduate programs, data collection for graduate tracers. Again, this is not bad teaching. It is a resource gap, not a competence gap. Research is the backbone of global higher education. It influences rankings, innovation, institutional reputation, and career outcomes. Multiple ranking bodies QS, they evaluate universities partly by citations per faculty research volume, international co-authorship, industry funding, patents, and innovation metrics. Philippine universities produce meaningful research, cultural values toward education, and impressive individual scholars. But if the system does not fund research at the level global rankings measure, the numbers will reflect that reality. So when mid-tier U.S. universities appear higher on certain indicators, it is not because they are inherently better than top Philippine universities. It is because they work inside a research economy that is structurally larger. Consider just one metric: research expenditure. According to data from the U.S. National Science Foundation and UNESCO Institute for Statistics, American universities collectively spend over $80 billion per year on research. Meanwhile, total research spending across the entire Philippines, including government, universities, and private sector, is only a fraction of that amount. This is not about nationality, it's about math. The system with bigger inputs generates bigger outputs. And because global university rankings are heavily shaped by research spending, doctoral production, citations, international collaboration, patented output, industry-funded projects, mid-tier U.S. universities naturally end up outperforming top Philippine universities in these specific categories. Again, not better education, but bigger measurable output. Now, let us zoom in on something most viewers don't notice: the role of doctoral programs. Many Philippine universities offer only a limited number of PhDs because funding PhD training is expensive, requires sustained research infrastructure, and depends on grant-driven faculty workloads. Meanwhile, mid-tier U.S. universities often host PhD engineering cohorts, biomedical doctoral labs, computer science research groups, education research centers, nursing and health sciences doctoral programs. These programs alone generate papers, conference proceedings, citations, research collaborations, and all of those feed directly into ranking metrics. This doesn't mean Philippine institutions are not producing excellent graduates. They absolutely are. But the scale of doctoral research output is simply different. Now, some viewers might wonder, but what about teaching quality? Isn't that what matters most? Here's the nuance. Mid-tier U.S. universities do not always outperform Philippine universities in teaching effectiveness. In some comparisons, Philippine institutions even match or exceed them. Teaching quality is not measured well by global rankings. Rankings prioritize research visibility, not classroom experience. So it is very possible and very real that a student in Manila or Cebu receives world-class instruction even if the university docency rank high globally. The numbers reflect research capacity, not talent. This is where misunderstandings begin online. People think rankings equals total quality, but rankings actually equals measurable scale in global research indicators. And scale favors the US system by sheer volume and funding. But to really understand why mid-tier US universities seem to outperform top Philippine universities in global metrics, we need to step into the international collaboration gap. One of the most powerful drivers of global visibility is international co-authorship, the number of research papers written with scholars from other countries. According to UNESCO and Scopus data trends, the United States has long-standing networks with European Union Research Consortia, Japanese and Korean Technology Institutes, Canadian scientific councils, funded partnerships in health, climate, and engineering, multi-billion-dollar grant programs like NIH, DOD, NASA, NSF, and DOE. Mid-tier U.S. universities benefit from these networks even if they aren't elite or world-famous. A mid-tier university with one strong materials science lab, one biomedical device partnership, one NASA-adjacent space science group, one industry-funded AI center can produce hundreds of citations per year. Meanwhile, Philippine universities do collaborate internationally and produce meaningful results, but the volume is lower because there are fewer funded research labs and fewer faculty with grant-driven research expectations. This isn't about skill, it's about network inclusion. The U.S. research system is plugged into the global pipeline of high-impact journals and global research teams. And because citation networks are cumulative, they grow exponentially over time. A university that has been collaborating internationally for 50 years will outpace one that only began scaling its research partnerships recently, even if both have brilliant scholars. This is why citation counts look very different in rankings. It's not intelligence, it's network scale. Industry linkages and innovation pipelines. Another major factor is industry funding. Mid-tier U.S. universities, even the ones people think are unknown, often have direct pipelines too. Tech companies, pharmaceutical manufacturers, aerospace contractors, state-level innovation programs, corporate research partnerships, startup incubators, health systems, and medical labs. Engineering manufacturing hubs. This matters because industry partnerships generate patents, prototypes, clinical trials, co-authored papers, sponsored labs, paid internships, commercialization income, tech transfer activities. All of these metrics appear in rankings like the ANSIMAGO. Philippine universities innovate in creative ways, especially in agriculture, education, and social research, but large-scale industry-funded R&D requires billions of dollars of investment across many decades. A mid-tier U.S. university sitting near a manufacturing corridor or a health science district will automatically have access to more research funding than any Philippine university can currently match system-wide. Again, this is not about national value or student ability. It's about infrastructure density, faculty workload, and research expectations. One factor the public rarely sees is the faculty contract structure. In the Philippines, many professors balance high teaching loads, administrative duties, limited grant funding, fewer dedicated research days. This reduces the time available for producing papers and grant proposals. In mid-tier U.S. universities, many faculty, especially in STEM, have reduced teaching loads, dedicated research time, graduate assistants, research technicians, grant-funded lab staff, performance evaluations based on publications. With that structure, of course, their research output grows. But this does not mean U.S. professors are better or smarter. It means their jobs are structured with research production as a core requirement. Many Philippine professors are exceptional teachers and scholars. They simply operate inside a different system. Another reason mid-tier U.S. institutions look strong internationally is because they offer large-scale infrastructure for students. Simulation labs, engineering workshops, massive libraries, high-performance computing centers, medical research facilities, startup accelerators, public policy institutes, innovation grants, undergraduate research programs. Many Philippine universities do offer research opportunities, but due to funding and scale, they typically cannot support thousands of students with advanced lab access. That's why content online sometimes mistakenly concludes U.S. mid-tier universities are just better, but that is not accurate. They appear more competitive globally because they operate within a much larger economy of research infrastructure. If Philippine universities were funded at the same per-student and per-faculty levels as U.S. institutions, the gap in global research rankings would significantly narrow. This is a system comparison, not a national comparison. Let's address another overlooked factor, the national ecosystem around research. In the U.S., private companies invest heavily in university, R&D. Federal agencies give out enormous grant funding. State governments compete by investing in university innovation. Philanthropic foundations support long-term research projects. In the Philippines, universities often rely on limited government budgets. Private research funding is smaller. Philanthropic funding exists, but is not as large. The national R&D ecosystem is still growing and expanding. A system with $100 billion in annual research capacity will outscore a system operating with far smaller national R&D resources, no matter how talented the students or professors are. Talent does not guarantee global ranking performance. Funding and infrastructure do. Why this does not mean U.S. mid-tier colleges beat Philippine universities in everything. U.S. mid-tier universities may outperform top Philippine universities in research output, citations, doctoral production, industry partnerships, patents, global visibility. But Philippine universities excel in areas that rankings do not measure well: community engagement, social impact research, teaching-focused models, cultural and linguistic studies, resilient student communities, adaptability in limited resource environments, strong undergraduate outcomes. These strengths are real, but they are not counted in ranking algorithms. That's why ranking comparisons must be handled carefully. So when you see the title, Why Most U.S. Mid-Tier Colleges Seem to Outperform Top Philippine Universities, understand the key word, seem. Because in ranking metrics tied to scale, the U.S. system will almost always look stronger. But in terms of teaching quality, student potential, cultural resilience, and undergraduate learning, the comparison is not as one-sided as some people portray. The difference is systemic, not personal. It's not capability, it's not talent, it's not national superiority. It is infrastructure scale, research funding, and global network inclusion. That is the entire story. If you've made it this far, thank you. This is Elite Narrative. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe, hit the like button, and comment your thoughts below.